Tonight's really, really important because hydration is so important to all of us because our bodies are mostly water. So we want to make sure that you start to understand what should I be drinking, how much of that, but how important are the minerals that should be in my diet. So let's dive in and unpack the science. Hydration and minerals. I love these slides, are just amazing. Can I just say that I wish I made them, but I didn't, and I just love them. So thank you, Steph. When you watch this, you'll just know that I appreciate you. For the goals, we have some goals. First is that we're going to review the factors, that impact hydration. There's definitely a lot of factors, that can impact your hydration. You could be drinking enough water, but are you doing things on the other end that are dehydrating you? We're going to get into that. The second thing, do you understand the science, really? Hopefully a little bit, we're going to dig into it, of minerals, pH, acid, alkalinity. How does those small little minerals that are micro things have an impact on that macro water? It has a huge impact inside your body, in your cells, in your tissues. Every part of your body is impacted. And lastly, we're going to just try to talk about some ways to improve your water intake, hopefully simply, but also the mineral intake, because without the minerals, your water is not as effective. If you don't have the right minerals in your body or in your water, you're not eating them or you're not ingesting them and they're not there, you're impacting the benefit the water is giving you in your body. You have to have a good balance. So we're going to talk about that. I've heard this a lot, or you might know people that, they know they should be drinking water. And they might be pounding water. They might have huge glasses, multiple ones a day, but they still feel dehydrated. Their body might not even be holding on to the water. It might just be going right through them. Most water that we get is not going to be mineralized well enough, and the food definitely that we're getting isn't mineralized enough. That this is what's happening is our body is just it's going right through us. If you feel this way, we're going to hopefully touch on that more than anything tonight. So what are some of the causes of dehydration? Maybe you're just not drinking enough water. Simply, I would probably say the most basic recommendations for most people would be at least 8 glasses of water a day. 8-ounce glasses. That's 64 ounces of water a day. The majority of people need that, especially if you're not getting enough fruits and vegetables, which do contain water. But if you're not drinking 8 glasses a day, you're probably just dehydrated. If you look at your urine, there's a good chance it's pretty yellow. It could be quite neon if you're taking a lot of vitamins and dehydrated. When you urinate and it's never clear, there's a good chance you are dehydrated, or that your body isn't processing the water you're taking well. The high end of water intake would be taking your weight and dividing it in half and drinking that many ounces of water. So if you're a 100-pound person, you should have 50 ounces of water. Yes, would that person need 8 glasses? Maybe not. But as you'd start to be heavier, then for sure you would need more than 64 ounces of water. If you did try to just chug all your water at once, that's not going to do it. Your body won't be able to handle the amount, and then ultimately you will be dehydrated later in the day. It should be drank throughout the day. Now, you may sweat a lot. It may be hot outside. You might work outside, but perspiration is going to leak minerals and nutrition and hydration out. Coffee, tea, sodas, they're dehydrators. They're going to dehydrate you. Drinking them are going to make you actually urinate more, and you're going to lose water. So if you're drinking a cup of coffee, you probably need 2 glasses of water to that 1 cup of coffee just to stay in balance. So make sure you're drinking water before you drink your coffee. First thing out of bed, get a good glass of water in. If you're sick, it's going to require more water. It can definitely dehydrate. Your body's putting a lot of energy to try to balance your body. Medications can dehydrate you, many of them. Obviously diabetic. If you're diabetic, it's going to affect hydration levels. Diabetics tend to have a lot of significant problems with balancing their electrolytes. And lastly is if you don't have the right amount of electrolytes. So we're going to dig into the electrolytes. That's the big thing for today. Is minerals are electrolytes. So what are electrolytes? Ultimately, these are just minerals. There's a lot of water in your body, but you need minerals in order to balance your body's chemistry and hydration. Almost everywhere in your body is water. Your muscles have water, your blood is water, outside your cells is water, inside your cells has water, and where that water goes is dependent upon these minerals. So where the water is being directed in the quantity is going to be dependent upon sodium, mostly, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Those are the biggies. Now there are a lot of trace minerals, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium are your big minerals, and they're going to help dictate where that water goes. Water is going to follow these minerals to some degree because the body wants to stay in a balance. So if there's more minerals than water, the water is going to flow to those minerals. If you drink a lot of water without a lot of minerals, then the body actually will leak minerals out just to try to balance that fluid. Your minerals are leaked out of your bones more than anything. So even osteoporosis can be due to the fact that you don't have enough minerals in your body. Your bones will give you what you need in minerals, but we don't want to take from your bones. We want to get it from your diet. If mineral levels are off, water can move where it shouldn't. Swelling, right? You're going to have swelling in certain areas of your body. You might have other things that are becoming a challenge in your body due to the fact that that water isn't in good balance. So feeling dehydrated, even if you're drinking plenty of water, is because your body isn't in balance. When you say, well, hey, how am I going to get minerals in my water, just specifically in your water? Well, reverse osmosis unfortunately has the least amount of minerals, because reverse osmosis water is to take everything out but H2O. So the challenge is if you look at how we would naturally consume water, if we didn't have all these devices and machines, you would find water probably flowing from a stream, over rocks, from over the land. So that's why what you see in this little graph, these aren't exactly true like numbers, but that well water has a decent amount of minerals. That's because it's in the ground. It's pulling minerals from the rocks and from the ground. Mineral water that's bottled probably has added minerals, hence why it looks like it's so high in minerals, because we probably have added that to those, chances are. Spring water has some, tap water has some. It doesn't, the one thing about tap water is it's not, you don't take everything out of it. Unfortunately, there's a lot in it that you don't want. So trying to figure out how to balance this is important, but just know that when you're looking for minerals in water, probably bottled mineral water will have the most minerals in that specifically, but it is probably added. All right, so we're going to talk about how to get minerals in other sources. Your body needs enough of the right minerals and water basically to balance pH. If your pH is off even the slightest bit, you actually die. So your body does everything it can to maintain blood pH. If your blood is altered even a 0.2 to 3 on the scale, there are significant problems. You'll be in the hospital and need significant work. So your body's going to do everything it can to maintain mineral balance in your blood, which means that other areas will sacrifice, which means we start to have dysfunction and diseases in our cells, our kidneys, lots of other areas, because the blood is being balanced with other minerals from other areas in your bones. That's where it takes a lot of these minerals. What's pH exactly? Potential of hydrogen is what pH is. It just means potential of the hydrogen atom. But simply put, it's basically a measure of acidity or alkalinity. A very acidic part of your body would be your stomach, because it breaks down protein. It's going to destroy and denature protein so that you can start to absorb things. So we want acidity in the right areas. Alkalinity would be on the other end. There's too much alkalinity is also a problem, and it challenges your kidneys just as much as too much acidity. So it's carefully controlled, and your body is going to do things to try to help maintain that balance. But if it doesn't have the minerals to do the balancing or the right amount of water, we have problems. And the first is dehydration, which leads to many, many other problems. Acidity is typically the more the culprit of a lot of conditions we have. People say, oh, I've got some issues. We typically say you're acidic or you're overly acidic. And that being overly acidic is probably because of some imbalance in the pH, maybe due to a lack of minerals or different things. But let's look about what causes people to be too acidic or have acidity in their bodies. Poor diet is a biggie. Usually that diet that doesn't contain a lot of fruits and vegetables, a lot of processed foods, sugars, fried foods are going to increase acidity. Stress can alter your pH because your body's chemistry is being affected by your brain's effect of these neurochemicals. So when these neurons are firing and causing a stress response, that is ultimately bringing you in more acidic state, and your body can have a lot of issues. We're going to go over what are some of the symptoms of overly acidic state. Poor breathing. Oxygen is great at alkalizing our blood. It's a way to hyperalkalize our blood is to do breath work. I've talked about breath work before. It's huge. Dehydration can make us acidic. We have concentrated blood. Our blood becomes thick and sludgy. It's not fluid and flowing. That becomes acidic. Kidneys, when the kidneys aren't working, we've got problems. And the kidneys are our biggest detoxifier of a lot of these problems with pH. So if your kidneys are being stressed by too much acid, which could be too much protein, could be bad diet, could be stress, you will start to see those effects all over. Might be swelling. There might be other issues with your kidneys. So just know that kidney issues can show up in the acidity balance. Overuse, certain medications, absolutely. Not just overuse, but just any medication can cause acidity, a number of those. Alcohol and tobacco, anything that's a toxin to our body is usually going to cause us to be more acidic. And definitely chronic illness. The argument maybe is the chronic illness due to being acidic, or is this chronic illness cause the acidity? Hard to say, but it's definitely going to be seen in a lot of chronic illnesses. So what do you see? How would you know if you're acidic or becoming acidic and having a lack of maybe minerals or balance? Well, you're going to have increased pain, a lot of muscle issues. Your mental balance will be off. If you're acidic, you will not be able to balance your moods as well. You won't be so tranquil. You'll have sleep problems. You'll have decreased bone density. Like I said, your bones are being leached in order to balance your body's acidity. Water retention, for sure, swelling, excess mucus, even sinus issues, digestive complaints, fibromyalgia symptoms. If you wake up in the morning, we call this stiffness test. test. And well, before you go to bed, maybe you do it, but you take a fist and you just say, can I touch my fingers to my palm? How much effort is it to make a full fist? And when you wake up in the morning, which is after your body's detoxed and tried to get rid of as many of the acidity and junk as you can, and that first wake up, you try to make a fist, and it's really hard to make, or you're not even touching your palm, you have an overly acidic situation going on. So we call that the stiffness test. That's one way to know if you're acidic. The biggest thing that we want to go over then is how do we get the electrolytes in the body and where do we get them from? Electrolytes are going to help your body's pH balance by making sure acids and bases don't get too high or too low. The minerals are those balances. So how do you make sure that you're getting enough of these? We're going to go into a little bit about like where do we get them. There probably are tests we could do, some blood tests, but the hydration, looking at your urine, making sure it's clear, making sure that you have less stiffness in the morning, that will be all good signs that you're getting enough minerals. There could be tests we do, but I wouldn't necessarily say we'd run to that. Someone might say, well, I'll just drink the Gatorade. The Gatorade has got to be helpful on getting electrolytes. And it is. It does have electrolytes. But there's a lot of other things that you probably in there that you wouldn't need because day to day you're not on the field in Florida where they made Gatorade, hence why it's called Gatorade, sweating out all your electrolytes. Gatorade has a lot more sodium than you need, than someone would need on a daily basis unless you're like out there sweating and you need to perform another match or another tournament. This is really for that second wind. That's what Gatorade's for. It's not really to get electrolytes. We want to get those more from fruits and vegetables we're going to go over. But just know there's too much sugar in there anyway. If you're an athlete and you've depleted your glycogen stores in your muscles, yeah, you probably need some quick sugar. That's why Gatorade was created. But let's focus on some other sources of electrolytes, okay? There's just empty calories in the Gatorade for you. So where are we going to find this? Well, you're definitely going to get it from salt. I would recommend Celtic sea salt more than any salt. I do sell it in the office. Celtic sea salt is the most naturally farmed. We know that I've met the people who actually own the company, and what they do is they use it from the sea. I mean, it is truly Celtic sea salt that dries out in the sun. There's not a bunch of other additives to make it really dry. And you'll know that if you see my salt. It's actually almost a little wet still. So sea salt, yes, Celtic sea salt's great. Redmond's real salt is good too, but I like the Celtic. They're definitely table salt. I wouldn't necessarily recommend because of the bleach nature and other issues with that. Bone broths are great. Pickles do have a lot of sodium. I mean, if you're trying to keep clean, majority of the pickles probably have additives of coloring, so I would not jump to most Valasic pickles. Cleveland, I think Cleveland Kitchen or something like that, I think they make a more natural pickle that's really good. Their salt might not be the most amazing, but at least some ways to get salt. Olives can also be that way. Potassium, huge. A lot of people deficient. If you're overstressed, if you have that fight or flight response too much, you probably need more potassium. That's why we sell in our office a magnesium potassium. Bananas, avocados, sweet potatoes, spinach, oranges, all great in potassium. Magnesium, probably the most deficient mineral of all these. Most of the farming practices have really depleted us of magnesium, zinc, some other things. That's what this one guy was talking about that I was kind of referring to. The biggest thing with magnesium is it just getting it in there. Most people don't have enough. We're overly stressed with it as well when we don't have it. Leafy greens, huge amount there. Pumpkin seeds, almonds, black beans, dark chocolate does have it. And lastly, calcium, big mineral that we all need. Chia seeds, kale, tofu. Actually, broccoli is not on there, but huge. Sardines. Dairy would be my last choice, honestly, for that to some degree, but it is still definitely a source of calcium. It's just not my preferred source that I would recommend. But those are where we're going to find a lot more of these electrolytes. If we've been depleted enough, though, we probably need some supplementation. I would say that the safest way to do it is trace minerals. Trace mineral product, we sell this here in our office, is liquid. Very easy to put in your water, to remineralize your water, and it has about 72 or 74 of the trace minerals found in the world. It's going to definitely have your biggies, though. Magnesium, it has a lot of magnesium. It's going to have your sodium, calcium, as well as potassium. It's going to have some of those in there, but getting the food sources is good. But if you really want to try to help balance your water, if you have RO water or distilled water doesn't have any minerals in it, adding the shape drops is a wonderful way to do it, and the easiest way, and very inexpensive. I think a bottle costs $20 some, and it will last for a while. If you're remineralizing water, I don't know, that would probably last months, to be honest. To sum up with things, number one is that your body is mostly water. When I'm adjusting you and we're trying to help your discs, your joints, your tendons, they need to be hydrated. Like, you need hydration. And if you're not keeping the water in, if your body isn't maintaining good hydration, this is why we want you to think about minerals. They're nature's tranquilizer, minerals. So they help calm us down. They help calm down muscle contraction, but they'll also help you guys in trying to keep your water in your body, keeping hydrated. So your body's extension of pain and other problems could be extension that you're thirsty. But there's a book called The Body's Many Cries for Water. So if you want to read all about water therapy, read that. The minerals are what we really wanted to touch on tonight.